An email flashed across my screen, its cold words slicing through the quiet of my Boise office. Clear your desk. Holly HR will handle exit paperwork. After 5 years at Summit Edge Logistics, a heartless message ended my tenure, punishing me for taking 3 days of bereavement leave for my father's funeral. We need work-first people, it read, as if grief were a frivolous choice over spreadsheets. I leaned back, the chair creaking in the pre-dawn stillness, the faint light outside barely breaking through Idaho's sky. Holly Peterson, 34, until moments ago the lead of Summits, top performing region, where my team was my family. Sharing birthdays, weathering hardships, pushing each other to excel. Id returned early, ready to catch up, only to be discarded like an outdated report. The office, once my sanctuary filled with laughter and late-night strategy sessions, now felt violated by this corporate callousness. The email a slap to my loyalty. For years, I'd poured my heart into Summit, driving record results, mentoring my team, believing we were more than cogs in a machine. But this dismissal, timed to exploit my grief, revealed a truth. My dedication meant nothing to a company that valued output over humanity. This isn't just my story. It's a cry for anyone whose worth is erased by dehumanizing workplaces, where personal loss is deemed a weakness, like gig workers cut for daring to take time to heal. I faced a betrayal that stung but sparked resolve. Sitting in that creaking chair, I wasn't just grieving. I was beginning a journey to reclaim my worth, proving that grief doesn't negate dedication but fuels a fight for justice. My desk at Summit Edge Logistics held the heartbeat of 5 years, a cactus from last Christmas, a sun-faded team retreat photo, and thank you notes from mentees I'd guided to shine. The termination email, signed by Dan Weaver, the same man who'd approved my 3-day bereavement leave for my father's funeral, cut deeper than a blade, citing failure to maintain presence during critical periods, as if my grief was a scheduling error. I didn't rage or cry. Instead, I snapped a photo of the email, its cold words captured, and forwarded it to my personal account, preserving proof of their betrayal. Methodically, I began packing, my workspace half empty as colleagues trickled in, their glances heavy with confusion. The sting of Summit's callousness burned, but a fierce clarity took root. It'd been discarded for daring to grieve. This desk, once a sanctuary of shared victories and late-night plans, was now my battleground. Each item I packed a step toward challenging this injustice. For 5 years, it led Summit's top-performing region, building a team that felt like family, only to be cast aside when I honored my father's memory. My calm wasn't surrender. It was a gathering of resolve, a warrior's pause to arm myself with evidence. This isn't just my story. It's a stand for anyone whose humanity is punished by dehumanizing systems, their worth erased for taking time to heal. Like freelancers archiving contracts before unfair cuts, I secured that email as a weapon against erasure. By packing deliberately, my hands steady despite the hurt, I didn't just leave. I prepared to reclaim my dignity, proving that grief doesn't weaken resolve, but sharpens it for the fight ahead. Tanya, from accounting, spotted the cardboard box on my desk first, her eyes widening with alarm. "Holly, what's going on?" she asked, voice low with concern. "I'm fired," I replied, steady despite the ache, "for taking approved bereavement leave for my dad's funeral, apparently not prioritizing work." Her shock flared into fury. urging me to appeal to Paula, the regional manager, but I shook my head, resolute yet mindful, knowing Summit Edge logistics. Betrayal ran deeper than a single decision. As my team trickled into the Boise office, Jason's usual grin vanished when he heard, "This is wrong, your leadership boosted profits." 18% this quarter, he protested, his voice sharp with disbelief. I taped my box shut, offering a wry smile. Not enough for Dan Weaver, it seems. By 9:30, my 7 core team members formed a silent wall around my desk, their presence a fortress of loyalty. Veronica's tears glistened, Ethan's fists clenched, their outrage mirroring my own quiet hurt. The fresh sting of my father's funeral still raw. They listed critical deals, had spearheaded contracts that saved the region, partnerships it forged, insisting I was irreplaceable. Dan Weaver's voice sliced through the hum, "Back to work, deadlines don't wait." His cold frown a stark contrast to our defiance. His words, meant to scatter us, only tightened their resolve, their loyalty a shield against his callousness. This wasn't just my desk, it was my stronghold, my team a collective force standing against Summit's betrayal. For 5 years we'd been a family, sharing birthdays, weathering hardships, driving each other to excel, yet one email, citing my grief as a failure to maintain presence, discarded me. This isn't just my fight, it's a cry for anyone whose loyalty is punished by corporate greed, their humanity dismissed for profit, like workers rallying against unjust firings. My team's defiance turned my loss into a shared stand. Their support, their refusal to scatter, wasn't just warmth, it was power, proving that a team's loyalty can outweigh the indifference of those who betray. Dan Weaver's voice sliced through the Boise office, sharp and commanding, ordering my team back to their desks. They retreated reluctantly, each casting me a glance of fierce support. Veronica's teary nod, Ethan's clenched jaw, Jason's quiet fury. A silent vow that my fight was theirs too. Dan leaned in, his tone low, almost conspiratorial. "This could have been quieter if you'd packed later." I held his gaze unflinching, my voice steady with the weight of betrayal, like the tact of firing me by email after approving my dad's funeral leave. His jaw clenched, a flicker of unease breaking his corporate mask. "Business shifts. Fast Summit Edge needs adaptable people. Your loss was unfortunate," he said, dismissing my grief as a mere inconvenience. I cut him off, my voice low but firm, cutting through his deflection. Don't trivialize my grief." Uncertainty flashed in his eyes, a crack in his authority, before he straightened, curtly directing me to HR with a wave of his hand. I lifted my cardboard box packed with the cactus, team retreat photo, and mentee notes that held 5 years of loyalty and stood calm but resolute. "I won't make a scene, but you'll remember this. Then it'll matter later," I said, my words a quiet warning, a promise of accountability to come. This office, once my sanctuary of shared triumphs, was now my battleground. My box a symbol of unbroken resolve against Summit's callousness. For 5 years, it led their top-performing region, building a team that was family, only to be discarded for honoring my father's death with 3 days of approved leave. This wasn't just my standards, a universal cry for anyone whose loyalty is punished by dehumanizing systems. Like workers challenging unfair dismissals, with measured defiance, my steady gaze and deliberate words unsettled Dan's authority, signaling a reckoning to come. My team's support, their refusal to abandon me, fueled my resolve, proving that strength lies in measured words, not chaos, and that betrayers will face the consequences of their indifference. The HR office at Summit Edge Logistics was stark, its white walls bare except for Barbara Kent's strained smile. Her sympathy a thin veil over corporate procedure. New to the company, she slid severance papers across the desk, 2 weeks' pay, a non-disparagement clause, a 6-month non-compete muttering, "I'm sorry about your father, Holly." I showed her Dan Weaver's email, its cold words firing me for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave for my dad's funeral. Her eyes widened at the abruptness, her voice low. No warnings, just this. She stepped out to check with legal, leaving me alone with the view of the Boise River through the window, its steady flow stirring memories of my father's voice. "Be steady like the rocks, Holly girl," he'd said, teaching me patience by that very river. Barbara returned with a tight smile, confirming the company's stance wouldn't budge. "Idaho's at-will laws allow this," she said, but leaned in, whispering, "Off record, it's wrong." I signed the papers without protest, my voice calm but resolute. Summit Edge acts as it wants, so will I. The pen's scratch was no surrender, but a strategic retreat, a pause to gather strength for the fight ahead. This office, with its sterile walls and hollow apologies, wasn't my end, it was a cold stage, setting the scene for my next move. This wasn't just my story, it's a stand for anyone whose grief is punished by callous systems, their loyalty discarded like an outdated report. Like gig workers signing unfair terms while biding time for justice, I held my father's wisdom as a shield, my steadiness rooted in his lessons by the river. For 5 years, Id led Summit's top-performing region, my team a family, only to be fired for honouring my dad's memory. Barbara's whisper, my team's earlier defiance, fueled my resolve. By signing and walking away, I didn't bow to their whims, I prepared to challenge them, proving that steadiness, like the Boise River's unyielding flow, outlasts corporate betrayal. The warm September air wrapped around me as I stowed my cardboard box in the car, pausing in the Boise parking lot to absorb the sting of Summit Edge Logistics betrayal. My phone buzzed with texts from Jason, Veronica, Ethan, and others, my team, my family beyond colleagues. Their messages brimming with fury and unwavering support, a lifeline against the cold dismissal for my 3-day bereavement leave. I started the engine, a plan crystallizing in the hum of the car. No lawsuits, just patience, steady like the river rocks my father taught me to emulate, enduring the current while waiting for the right move. Hank Fleming, CEO of Vertex Transport, called, his voice heavy with concern, having heard of my firing through industry whispers. At Vertex' vibrant Boise office, where open spaces buzzed with energy, he welcomed me warmly. "I've wanted you on board, Holly, but not like this." I showed him Dan Weaver's callous email, firing me for failure to maintain presence during my father's funeral. Hank's frown deepened. "That's not just poor leadership, it's heartless." He leaned forward, eyes sharp with intent. "Join us as division director," he offered, valuing my expertise for their Northwest expansion eye roll that outstripped my position at Summit. I raised the 6-month non-compete clause, but Hank dismissed it. Unenforceable in this case, well handle any legal pushback. "Think it over," he urged, his confidence a spark of hope. The car wasn't just a vehicle, it was my war room, where the pain of Summit's betrayal met the clarity of my father's lessons. forging a resolve to pivot, not collapse. Hank's offer was a new battleground, a chance to reclaim my future. This wasn't just my story. It's a stand for anyone blindsided by callous systems, their loyalty discarded for profit. Like professionals rebounding from unfair dismissals through hard-won networks, I leaned on my team's support and Hank's trust to fuel my next step. By considering Vertex, I didn't just recover, I seized a future where my worth outpaced corporate cruelty, proving that steadiness, like those river rocks, endures beyond betrayal. At Riverfront Brewing, a cozy Boise pub far from Summit Edge Logistics' cold grip, I met Veronica and Jason, their faces carved with worry and righteous outrage. "How are you, Holly?" Veronica asked, sliding into the booth, her voice soft but searching. "In managing," I replied, steady despite the sting of my firing. "Ill bounce back." Jason scoffed, leaning forward. "Dan's lost it. The office is a mess. Henderson files missing, your system access unassigned." Veronica's eyes flashed with anger. "The whole company's buzzing. People are livid about your firing." Jason nodded, his voice low. "You were respected, Holly. Now everyone's scared they're next." My phone buzzed with texts from colleagues, a cascade of support and fury, their words painting a picture of chaos rippling through Summit's ranks, my absence exposing the cracks in Dan Weaver's leadership. I shared Vertex Transport's Ofera, division director role, outstripping my Summit position, and their eyes lit up. Non-competes often don't hold, especially without cause. Veronica noted, her contract expertise cutting through the haze. Jason's phone pinged a message about Dan's emergency Saturday meeting for the Wilson account, now floundering without my meticulously organized files, opaque to those left behind. A faint smile crossed my lips, not gloating, but a quiet recognition of their disarray, a testament to the systems it built. Hypothetically, Jason ventured, a glint in his eye, is Vertex hiring? Their shared glance spoke volumes, a silent pact of loyalty shifting away from Summit's betrayal. This pub wasn't just a meeting. Spot, it was my war council, riverfronts, warm wood, and clinking glasses, a haven where my team's allegiance became a shield against dance, cruelty. For 5 years, it led Summit's top-performing region, forging a family that shared triumphs and hardships, only to be fired for 3 days of approved bereavement leave. Their support, their outrage, wasn't just comfort, it was a spark for collective rebellion, a refusal to bow to a system that discarded me. This isn't just my story, it's a stand for anyone whose loyalty is punished by callous workplaces. Like workers plotting a new path after unjust firings, our glances at Riverfront forged a quiet alliance, proving that loyalty to people outshines the fleeting games of corporate greed. On Saturday, I stepped into Vincent Torres' refined Boise office, its walls lined with elite diplomas, and laid out Dan Weaver's email and my termination notice from Summit Edge Logistics. I recounted my firing punished for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave for my father's funeral. Vincent's eyes narrowed as he studied the documents, his voice sharp with conviction. "This screams wrongful termination, bad faith, possibly breach of contract." He tapped the non-compete clause, its 300-mile, 6-month ban glaring. "This is excessive. Idaho courts often reject such clauses when employers act unfairly." I clarified, steady but deliberate. "I'm not suing, just weighing options for Vertex Transport's offer." Vincent nodded, his tone pragmatic. Summit would struggle to prove harm given their actions move forward but cautiously. My phone buzzed with updates from my team Jason, Veronica, Ethan detailing Dan's tense Saturday meeting. Where unpaid duties piled onto their shoulders, my Wilson account files found but indecipherable without my system. Their chaos wasn't my triumph, but it underscored the value of my leadership, discarded so callously. By Sunday, my decision crystallized, and on Monday, I called Hank Fleming, Vertex CEO. In for division director, I said, voice firm, but I want to build my team fair shots for my Summit colleagues. Hank agreed instantly, eager for their talent, his enthusiasm a spark igniting my path forward. Vincent's office wasn't just a consultation space, it was my strategy hub, where the sting of Summit's betrayal fueled a calculated leap. This wasn't just my fight, it's a stand for anyone constrained by unfair systems, their worth dismissed for grieving or daring to prioritize life. Like freelancers navigating restrictive contracts to seize new opportunities, I leveraged Vincent's legal insight to break free. My condition to Hank wasn't just ambition, it was loyalty, ensuring my team, my family at Summit, could escape the chaos Dan created. Their support, their outrage at my firing anchored me. By forging this new path, I didn't just recover. I reclaimed my future, proving that resilience, rooted in steadiness, builds a life stronger than any corporate betrayal. That afternoon, I signed with Vertex Transport as division director, securing a 40% salary boost, enhanced benefits, and a signing bonus that outshone my 5-year tenure at Summit Edge Logistics. Leaving Vertex's vibrant Boise office, my phone buzzed with 7 texts, one from each former team member. Jason, Veronica, Ethan, Louise, Diane, Gabriella, and Kayla, each requesting a private coffee meetup. On Tuesday, I waited in a cozy downtown cafe, the aroma of fresh espresso mingling with anticipation as they arrived, filling 2 tables with familiar faces etched with resolve and frustration. Their presence felt like a homecoming, a testament to the family wed built amidst Summit's chaos. Summit's falling apart, Ethan declared, his voice tight with anger. Dan's micromanaging, Paula's pressuring him, and the Wilson accounts wavering without you. Veronica leaned in, her eyes sharp. Clients are asking why you're not handling renewals. Each shared stories of disarray, missed deadlines, fumbled contracts, morale crumbling, confirming summits, unraveling in my absence. A direct consequence of their callous firing for my 3-day bereavement leave. They know you're with Vertex, Jason said, the group's eyes locking onto me with unwavering trust. We want to join you, Veronica urged as all nodded, revealing they'd applied to Vertex the day before, their loyalty a beacon through the storm of betrayal. I fought a wave of gratitude, my throat tight and promised ill make calls. This cafe wasn't just a meeting spot, it was my stronghold, a war council where my teams' allegiance became a rebellion against Summit's cruelty. For 5 years we'd been a family, driving record profits, only for Dan Weaver's heartless email to discard me for grieving my father. The applications to Vertex weren't just career moves, they were a collective stand, a refusal to bow to a system that valued profit over people. This isn't just my story, it's a universal cry for anyone whose loyalty is punished by callous workplaces. Like unionized workers defecting after unjust dismissals, our shared resolve at those CAF tables sparked a new path. By rallying my team, I didn't just rebuild, I triumphed, proving that bonds forged in trust outlast the fleeting games of corporate betrayal. At 7:30 a.m. Monday, Paula McCormack, Summit Edge Logistics Regional Manager, called, her voice strained yet composed, barely masking the chaos unfolding. "Holly, 7 resignation letters from your team hit my desk all joining Vertex, where you're now division director," she said, the weight of the news heavy in her pause. I replied coolly, "People choose their paths." Paula asked Dan why your top team left en masse. Her tone shifted to resignation as she admitted, "Dan fired you without my approval. I was at a conference." She insisted she'd have stopped it, revealing Dan's claim of urgent performance issues to justify my dismissal for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave for my father's funeral. I let silence linger, a sharp rebuke, then said, "That's your issue with Dan, not mine." Paula pressed, offering my job back with a 10% raise and an apology. Citing the Wilson account's looming exit without my leadership, when I didn't bite, she upped the ante to match Vertex pay plus 15%, her desperation clear. "It's not about money," I countered, my voice steady as Boyce's dawn light. "You need to undo the callousness of firing me for grieving my father." As she stammered about my 6-month non-compete, I cut her off. "Have your lawyers call mine review my termination first?" The call ended with her silence, a testament to Summit's unraveling, their betrayal exposed by my team's defection and my refusal to bend. This wasn't just a conversation, it was Paula's failed salvage attempt. My words a verdict on Summit's cruelty. For 5 years, it led their top-performing region, forging a family with Jason, Veronica, and the others, only to be discarded for honoring my father's memory. Their mass resignations weren't just loyalty, they were a collective protest against a system that valued profit over humanity. This isn't just my story, it's a stand for anyone punished by dehumanizing workplaces. Like teams abandoning toxic employers, our exodus to Vertex was a rebuke to Dan's callousness. By rejecting Paula's offer, I didn't just walk away. I stood firm, proving that integrity outshines empty promises and that loyalty to oneself triumphs over corporate betrayal. I arrived early at Vertex Transport's Boise office, greeted by Hank Fleming's enthusiastic grin, his energy infectious. "Your 7 former teammates are in for interviews. Wednesday, their skills are stellar," he said, clapping my shoulder. "Summit Edge's loss is our win." I thanked him, a wave of relief washing over me, knowing Jason, Veronica, Ethan, Louise, Diane, Gabriella, and Kalis. Talents were recognized, their loyalty to me now a bridge to a new beginning. On Tuesday, Barbara from Summit's HR called, her voice a hushed whisper. Dan's on leave, Paula's probing bereavement policy failures. The board, rattled by the mass exit of my team, was auditing past terminations, their callous system cracking under the weight of our departure. The news landed like justice, a quiet confirmation that our stand had shaken their foundation. By Friday, all 7 accepted Vertex offers, their trust in me unwavering. We celebrated at a Boise diner, clinking glasses to new beginnings and my leadership, their laughter and loyalty a warm vindication against Summit's betrayal. Summit Edge sent a letter that week, admitting my wrongful firing for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave, offering a settlement I accepted, not for the funds, but for their accountability, a rare confession of their cruelty. That same day, the Wilson account, Summit's prized client, followed us to Vertex, drawn by the strength of our team, a final rebuke to Dan's heartless email. This diner wasn't just a celebration, it was my victory circle, where my team's allegiance turned betrayal into triumph. For 5 years at Summit, we'd been a family, driving record profits, only to see me discarded for grieving my father. Their defection wasn't just loyalty, it was a collective stand against a system that valued profit over humanity. This isn't just my story, it's a universal cry for anyone punished by callous workplaces. Like workers joining rivals to reclaim agency, our move to Vertex toppled Summit's toxic system. By rallying my team and accepting that settlement, I didn't just rebuild. I improved that steadfastness, like my father's river rocks, outlives corporate cruelty, forging a future where loyalty to each other shines brighter than betrayal. 3 months after joining Vertex Transport, I stood in their Boise conference room, presenting our division's results to the executives. 30% growth, 4 major clients, 3 poached from Summit Edge Logistics, and 22% cost savings. Hank Fleming, Vertex CEO, clapped me on the shoulder, his grin wide. Outstanding, Holly, your team crushed it. I deflected with a smile. My team's the real force here. Jason, Veronica, Ethan, Louise, Diane, Gabriella, and Kayla had poured their talent and drive into transforming our Pacific Northwest operations. Their loyalty a fire that fueled our success. Back in my office, my 7 former Summit colleagues surprised me with a cake, its icing boldly proclaiming Independence Day, marking 3 months since our collective leap to Vertex. We're thriving, Veronica said, her voice warm with pride, noting the autonomy and recognition we'd found here. At Vertex, they weren't just workers, they were valued as people, their contributions celebrated, not dismissed. A news alert flashed across my phone. Summit Edge restructuring amid client losses, including Hernandez's contract. Slashing 20% revenue. Dan's out, Louise noted, her tone matter of fact. I felt no glee, only a quiet justice. Summit's toxic culture, which fired me for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave, had sown its own collapse. Raising my glass at the celebration, I toasted, "To Summit, learning that people are their strength." Gabriella lifted hers, adding, "And to Holly, who led us to better." The conference room wasn't just a meeting space, it was our victory stage. The cake a symbol of our shared triumph over betrayal. For 5 years at Summit, we'd been a family, driving record profits, only to see me discarded for grieving my father. This wasn't just my story. It's a stand for anyone punished by dehumanizing workplaces. Like collectives rebuilding after toxic systems, our unity at Vertex reshaped our futures. By leading my team to this new beginning, I didn't just recover. I proved that loyalty to people, not profit, outshines corporate cruelty, forging a legacy rooted in respect and resilience. 6 months into my role as Division Director at Vertex Transport, Paula McCormick, now a consultant specializing in workplace culture, invited me to lunch by the Boise River. She appeared calmer, the usual tension in her shoulders eased, and opened with a sincerity I hadn't expected. "I owe you a real apology, Holly." I met her gaze, steady but unflinching. "You didn't fire me, Paula, but the culture you shaped allowed it." She nodded, her expression heavy with accountability. "After your team left, Summit Edge Collapse Consultants exposed our leadership failures." Paula revealed that Summit had been acquired by Meridian Shipping at a steep discount, its value gutted by client losses, and the exodus of talent sparked by my firing for taking 3 days of approved bereavement leave. Dan's unemployable now. Your story's everywhere, she said, noting how my honest recounting of that callous email had rippled through the industry. A quiet truth reshaping narratives. Over dessert, as the river's gentle flow mirrored my father's lessons to stay steady like its rocks, Paula asked, was walking away quietly worth it? I reflected on my thriving Vertex team, Jason, Veronica, Ethan, Louise, Diane, Gabriella, and Kayla, whose loyalty fueled our 30% growth and major client wins, including 3 poached from Summit. Yes, I answered, my voice calm but certain. The outcomes prove it. My team's success, our shared dinners, and the Wilson accounts, defection to Vertex, were testaments to a culture built on respect, not exploitation. My father's wisdom, etched in those river rocks, had guided me through grief and betrayal to a new beginning. This lunch by the Boise River wasn't just closure, it was a reflective haven. Paula's apology, a belated reckoning for Summit's failures. This isn't just my story, it's a stand for anyone whose integrity is punished by callous systems. Like whistleblowers meeting reformed colleagues, my quiet defiance had catalyzed change, forcing Summit to face its flaws. The river's steady current mirrored my resolve, a testament to the power of steadfastness over loud battles. By affirming my choice, I didn't just triumph. I built a lasting legacy, proving that loyalty to people and principle outshines the fleeting cruelty of corporate greed.